is back into it in Chester. Here's El Senior. Yes! Yes!
The center back, Jacob Glesnes,
He's going for it.
Oh my God! What a goal!
And that will do it. One of the best comebacks in recent years. 3 unanswered by the Union. And they go into the Gold Cup break, winning it 3-2.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. And yeah, honestly, guys, I'm sure just like you, I feel completely deflated after last night's game against DC United. I wish the Union would have been as hype as this intro, but that performance we got on the field from the Union, yeah, it's really, really disappointing. And you guys know me. You guys know, if you've been listening for a while, you know I try to find any positive moments in the worst of situations. And the only positive that I can find in that game last night was Andre Blake is Andre Blake. Without Andre Blake in the goal, yeah, we would have lost worse than the 3-1 scoreline indicated. Andre Blake's 6 saves on the night, I believe it was. Unbelievable. Can't. I don't know. And honestly, people listen to this podcast. You guys listen to this podcast. Nobody wants to listen to a podcast that's just dreary, that's just down. But like, how do you find positivity in a game like that? There's nothing other than Andre Blake that made me feel good about last night's performance on the field. Now, if we're talking about not the performance on the field, then I will say it was awesome. It was very, very awesome going to an away game down in DC United Stadium with a whole bunch of Sons of Ben, with a whole bunch of Union fans in general. I would guess probably around 100, maybe 120 Union fans. Definitely not 100 Union fans in the away supporters section, but there was definitely a lot of Union fans scattered around the stadium. It was really, really cool to meet Greg Jenkins, I believe is his name on Twitter. He came up to me after the game. He was like, "Yeah, are you Todd from the Free Kick?" And yeah, sure enough, I was, and everything. And you guys heard me talk about it last episode. I absolutely love meeting Philadelphia Union fans at Subaru Park if it's at away games. I don't know. Maybe we meet outside of a game or something. It's cool just meeting different Philadelphia Union fans, and it's always something special meeting people that listen to this podcast. You guys don't need to listen to this podcast. I say it all the time, but for whatever reason, people want to listen. So I always appreciate people listening to the podcast, people giving me their thoughts on the podcast, people giving me listener questions, people participating on Twitter Spaces, maybe participating in the trivia shares. I don't know, just finding people that listen to the podcast, being able to talk to them, it means a lot. Especially being able to put a voice and a face to the person behind the screen that you're interacting with on Twitter. So it was really cool to meet Greg in person. Also got to meet Luke for the first time from the Dupree Brothers. Him and his brother and the friends were down at the DC game for Luke's bachelor party. So congratulations, Luke, on your upcoming marriage. Awesome to meet you in person, to talk about just the great things you and AJ are doing over at your podcast, the Dupree Brothers. 100 episodes, that's a ton of episodes to record. And we talked about it. You know, I feel like podcasters after 5 episodes, they're done. And so to go 100 episodes, it's really, really serious. And you guys are really, really consistent. And I love what you guys are doing there. Your work with the Brotherly Game, really great podcast. And if you guys haven't listened to the Duper Brothers at all, it's really, really entertaining stuff. So it was nice to meet you again, AJ, in person, and Luke, meeting you for the first time in person. And look, just all the people that I've seen in Subaru Park, a lot of people that I've seen in Subaru Park, get to see them come out to the away game. It was really, really special seeing just all these people come out to the away game because when I went down to Atlanta in June, there's only like 10 of us. And like, it was cool and everything. Atlanta has a great stadium, a lot better than DC United Stadium, even though it's a football stadium. Still a lot better than DC United Stadium, in my opinion. But yeah, it's just something about having that many away fans come, sitting in the away section, the whole exclusivity of, all of you guys there just supporting the Philadelphia Union. So yeah, I mean, off the field, really cool. On the field, terrible. Which was also terrible is DC United Stadium. The worst stadium I've ever been in compared to, like, not just soccer, but just sports in general. Yeah, DC United Stadium is really, 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 really bad. I hate the slanted angle of the away seats. Well, the whole stadium's slanted seats. I hate how they put us all the way up top. Like, I have no problem sitting up high and everything, watching soccer games, but like, I think 36 flights of stairs, 36 steps, I think we walked, something like that. I don't know, maybe more. Yeah, that sucked. It's like, Jesus, like, this is not safe at all. Like, if somebody gets drunk enough and they're celebrating, yeah, they're definitely going to tumble down the very top of this thing and just go all the way to the bottom and probably break some bones, or even worse, be dead. So yeah, was not a fan of that. Apparently the bathroom was flooding. People were talking about how they don't have a drainage system in the stadium, which is crazy. I don't like how the stadium lights all the way at the top are directly in your eyes in section 112 where they put the away support section. So stupid. The stadium, like, it's terrible. They cut like half of the supporters section in half because they put a bar in like half of the supporters section, which is so stupid. Like, that's where you put your most passionate fans, and you're like, yeah, let's just put a giant bar here and cut our supporters section in half, which was so stupid. One side of the stadium had a roof, the other half didn't really have a roof. Whoever designed the stadium, I don't think they did a really good job. For a modern soccer stadium, this is not what I would envision a modern soccer stadium to look like. It's just really, really bad. But, besides what happened on the field, besides what the stadium looked like, yeah, like I said, really, really cool to be there with a whole bunch of other Philadelphia Union fans. But look, I woke up this morning. It was like, I'm not going to look at match ratings at all. I'm not going to look at stats, really, because it's just going to make me sad. So I didn't even take notes, really. The only notes that I took were 3 talking points that I put in my phone when I was at the game. But honestly, like, that game annoyed me so much that I decided, yeah, I'm not going to take any more notes in my phone. But there are definitely things I'm going to play from Jim Curtin's press conference, and some of the notes that I posted on my phone, I'll bring them up. But I don't know how long this podcast is going to be. Yeah, we're obviously not going to go into MLS news because I wanted to talk about the state of the Philadelphia Union right now, and I'm not going to do Blunder of the Week. If you guys want to, you can give Blunder of the Week to DC United Stadium for how bad it is. You can give it to how the Philadelphia Union played against DC United. I'm sure you guys can come up with Blunder of the Week, but I'm just going to talk about what happened in that DC United versus Philadelphia Union game. Play some clips from Jim Curtin's press conference after the game, before the game, and we'll see where it takes us. But I do want to say before I get into the first clip, sorry that I didn't have a preview episode for DC United. Look, plans A, B, and C did not work out to get people into the show. So I tried, and nobody responded back to me, so it's all good. It's all good. I'm grateful for Dave Johnson for coming onto the podcast 2 times this year. 2 out of 3 times, not bad at all. So if you're hitting that in baseball, you have to take that every time. So for Dave to come onto the podcast 2 times this season, really, really grateful for Dave Johnson. But the first clip I want to talk about is Jim Curtin talking about, well, did the 4-2-3-1 formation work?
It lasted about 17 minutes, Jonathan. So I would say no. But again, I think no matter what formation we were in tonight, you have to give DC credit because they beat us in every phase of the game. So regardless of how we lined up tonight, when their guys are winning every loose ball, every second ball, every duel, it's going to be difficult. So they threw numbers forward. They played forward and ran forward, and we didn't do a good job of tracking. Andre and our center backs did their best to make plays for us as they have all year, but it was just too much overall in the night. So not a lot of great performances, something that we have to now work on and try to get fixed. Obviously, we lose 7 to 8 starters for the next game. And, it's going to be an opportunity for others to step up and give us a little bit of a spark. Again, we'll be at home against a really strong New England team coming off a loss also. So again, it's going to be an opportunity to have guys step up and maybe make a case for more minutes.
So you talk about having guys step up. Why? Look, I get that Davo is new to the team, but a guy who you didn't even buy permanently, you got him on loan. So you would think that you would want to see him as much as possible, because then you're going to want to decide, look, is he a good fit for our team? And if he's a good fit, then we're going to buy him. When we needed a spark, you don't bring in Davo against Montreal. You don't bring him in against DC United. You talk about needing a spark. Look, I appreciate bringing in Quinn Sullivan, Paxton Aronson, but why wasn't Davo coming on the field? You take off Ali Bedoya, who you can complain, play good. You can complain and say that he played bad. But I think Ali Bedoya played better in the night than Leon Flock, and you decide to leave Leon Flock on for 90 minutes. That makes no sense to me. You said that it took us 17 minutes to switch out of the 4-2-3-1. But honestly, it seemed like the Union played a 4-2-3-1 a lot longer than 17 minutes. There was times in the game where I was trying to figure out what formation the Union were playing, and I honestly couldn't tell you at all. When they brought in Corey Burke, I thought that they were still playing a 4-2-3-1. But maybe they weren't, because Jim said he had only lasted 17 minutes. But you would think, okay, if you're not playing a 4-2-3-1, then you're going to play the diamond, a 4-4-2, then why not bring in Davo off the bench so you can have him and Corey Burke, 2 natural strikers up top? So I guess at the time when Corey Burke was on the field, you had Quinn Sullivan, who was definitely not playing as a striker. He was playing on the wing, I thought. Leon Flock was playing pretty high up, like a left midfielder, a left winger. Did not agree with that at all. So, saying it only lasted for 17 minutes, it didn't seem like that towards the end of the game, but I don't know. Jack Elliott was up there for a long time, so I guess Jack Elliott was your second striker and you played with 3 in the back. I honestly have no clue what the Union were playing formation-wise the last 10, 15 minutes of the game. But look, I thought the 4-2-3-1 was going to be a good formation for the Union to come out, where you bring in Daniel Gazdag and you bring in Jamiro Montero, who says he wants to be a 10. Daniel Gazdag, you bring him in here to be a 10. So you're playing with two 10s, and neither one of them played well on the night. Jameer probably played a little bit better than Daniel Gazdag, but again, you're not getting Daniel Gazdag on the ball enough. He couldn't have touched the ball more than 20 times in the game, right? I'm a big supporter of Daniel Gazdag, and I'm not blaming Daniel Gazdag at all. I'm not slandering him. I still believe in him. I think he's going to be a good player for the Union. But the one question I have is why is he playing so far forward? Is that a tactical thing? And look, maybe I should ask this in Jim Curtin's next press conference. Why is Daniel Gazdag playing so high up where in the past you've played Jameer at the 10? He's, like I've said before in the podcast, he's being a free roamer. When you put Gazdag at the 10, he's staying forward. And when we have the two 10s, Daniel and Jameer, Daniel Gazdag wasn't wanting to do any of the defensive work. He was letting Jameer do all of the defensive work and getting involved with the offense. I don't know how Daniel Gazdag gets more touches on this team. I don't know if it's a tactic thing, and we really need to find out. We can't speculate that, okay, Daniel Gazag's this, Daniel Gazag's that, without knowing the reasonings why Daniel Gazag's playing the way that he's playing. I really want to believe that he's staying up high up the field because it's what Jim Curtin's saying to do tactically. We don't have an answer. Nobody's asked. So maybe I should go to Jim's press conference on my lunch break and ask that question, because I think that's a very, very important question to ask. Why Daniel's staying so far up? And if it is tactically, then why aren't we getting him on the ball enough? Because you would think, okay, look, you really don't want your two strikers coming back that far into the midfield to collect the ball. You don't really want them to play defense back there. Jameer, when he's at the 10, he comes back and plays defensively, but Daniel Gazdag really doesn't come back and play defensively, which is fine. So what's the difference? I really want to know the difference between Daniel Gazdag and Jameer Montero, why you're telling them two different things. Maybe you're not. Maybe it's just the way that they want to play. But I think that's an answer that all of us fans deserve to have. Why are you doing this defensively? Because it's really a head scratcher, and because we don't have that answer, people are giving Daniel Gazdag slander that I believe that he doesn't deserve. But 4-3-1 seemed promising. It was not. And the Union played really, really, really bad in the 4-2-3-1. But I do want to go to the next clip, which talked about Jim Curtin. And this was before the game. Jim Curtin was talking about just the lack of good crosses, why they're wasteful. And fair warning, I think this clip's like 3 minutes long because Jim gave a pretty long answer. So this is Jim Curtin explaining the Union's crosses.
There's crosses, and then there's crosses where we're getting them from. Crosses are useless when they come from the corner flag. The percentage of scoring a goal off of a cross from the sideline it's almost a wasted effort. So we want to be crossing balls from as close to the end line as possible and inside the 18. When we get into those areas, now you're talking about one of the most dangerous teams in the league. That's when we are clicking and what I'm talking about. So the hopeless balls that come in wide areas that are just lofted into a box for three center backs that are 6'5" to head away are not the things that we value. So, there's always statistics and data that can skew things and make them look exactly how you want to, in a good way or a bad way. So what's the saying? And never trust any data unless you've made it up yourself. So again, that one's a little skewed. So the question then becomes, Matthew, where are we getting those crosses from? And right now, I would argue that they're not from the spots we want to get them from. I can just envision in the game now. We want them to be coming from the area I described in that red zone with 4 or 5 runners in the box, and that looks a lot different than the hopeless clip balls into the box. That look, we're not going to. No team has success in that in England, in Spain, in Germany. That caters right to the way defenses are set up these days. So we have to find little different ways, whether it be 1-2s, a third man running. We have to find ways to break teams down to get into more dangerous areas and cross from really dangerous spots. And we're working to improve on that, just like every team in the league is. We're not unique in that regard. But again, I like where we are defensively as a team, and we've had to maybe sacrifice a little bit of the going forward and bombing forward and to keep the clean sheets and to keep the low goals against that we've kept. So it is a give-take. And again, I don't need the offense to be clicking perfectly right now. We need to win games right now. That offense has to be clicking, though, when we get into, obviously we have a Champions League game where we have to score, no question about that. That's clear. We have to score a couple goals in that one. But then as we get into September and October and then the playoffs, that's where we want to be really flying on all cylinders. It's not how you start offensively, it's how you finish. I like where we are defensively. We're stable as a group. Everyone's defending well, but now can we add that next layer of creating things? And some of it comes from us winning the ball defensively higher up the field. Right now we're winning a lot of balls deep in our box, and we're defending the box like madmen, and we're great at getting blocks and defending. But can we start to win those balls higher up the field? That's when we're at our best, and it's maybe 1 or 2 passes to a team that's wide open and breaking them down that way. It's a lot simpler than when they have 7, 8 guys behind the ball.
Told you guys that it was going to be a loaded answer right there. So hopefully you guys didn't fall asleep to that. But look, that's a lot. That is a lot to try to break down. Almost a 3-minute clip. But look, if you're not happy with the crosses, I believe the Union had 24 or 25 crosses against DC United on the night. And I'll play a clip here that was after the game, Jim talking about the crosses. So yeah, this episode's definitely going to be a lot about the Union's crosses or lack of crosses. But look, if you're not happy with the delivery from where we're sending in crosses, then why not? Why not attack down the middle? Look, I thought, I've said it on the podcast before, I've said it to people outside of the podcast. I thought the exact reason why you bring in Daniel Gazdag is so you can attack through the middle of the field. You have Jamiro Montero, who loves going one-on-one versus players. He loves attacking down the middle of the field. Starting both of them seems smart, but for whatever reason on the night, the Union aren't attacking down the middle of the field with Daniel Gazdag, Jamiro Montero. They're still bombing for it, sending in crosses with Leon Flock, with Kai Wagner. Yeah, Alvis Powell is definitely not an offensive right back. He's definitely a defensive right back. So again, it goes back to the whole Ray Gaddis thing where you didn't get much offensive productivity from Ray Gaddis, where now you're not getting that with Alvis Powell. But then you look and you say, okay, look, well, at least we get it with Bizo, but he's cost us defensively with some of his mistakes. But if we start Powell, we know we'll pretty much be good defensively. I know he gave away a penalty last night. It looked like he two-footed the guy, which then is a little bit confusing why he didn't get a card for a 2-foot challenge in the box. You gave the penalty, but then no card. So I'm not really sure what the call was if the referee doesn't believe that he two-footed him. It looked like he two-footed him from the angle we were all sitting at, but that's neither here or there. And I'm definitely not going to blame the referees this game. The Union's loss wasn't on the referees at all. The Union's loss was on the coaching staff, on the players themselves, not on the referees. The Union aren't creating enough. And yeah, this episode's definitely going to be the crossing episode and the creating chances episode. So it's the 2 words you're going to hear a lot. But look, like I was saying before I went on that rant, you start Jamiro Montero and you start Daniel Gazdag. Why aren't we using them then? Why aren't we attacking through the middle with these 2 guys? We continue to, like I said, use Kai Wagner to send in crosses, Leon Flock to send in crosses, Casper sending in crosses, Daniel Gazdag sending in crosses. Why aren't we combining going down the middle? Why are we sending in crosses? Like, some of that has to do with Casper, I believe, just getting in terrible positions when we're crossing the ball or when we want to pass the ball to his feet. He's covered by a center back. His touch is bad when we pass on the ball. He's not fast enough to get to the ball. Look, there was moments in the game where he tracked back defensively, and I always appreciate that effort. But then when he does that, now we have nobody at the top to feed the ball into, to hold up the ball so we can have guys running behind him. Now, granted, I feel like if we would have tried to have Casper hold the ball up, yeah, we really didn't have too many guys running behind him. So that's just a moot point by me. That's what you would hope that Casper would do, hold the ball up and have guys running behind him. And yeah, you get a goal that way. No, it did not happen that way at all. So Casper, you guys know I defended him a lot on this podcast, and I've stuck up for him not scoring a lot of goals this season. I don't even know the last time that he scored a goal. Did he score a goal down in Florida? Was it against Orlando, Miami, somebody? I don't know. It's been a while since Casper scored a goal. But the one thing I always talk about on this podcast is how Casper pulls guys out of position, or he'll win headers. And Casper is not doing any of that stuff right now. And I really wanted to see Jim Curtin last night have the balls to pull Casper off the field at halftime, because he's not getting it done. He's obviously not getting it done in the goal scoring department. He's not getting assists. He's not holding up the ball for the Union. He's not doing anything against center backs. It's not been good by Casper. And for whatever reason, Jim keeps putting out a striker out there that's not in form. Could have went with Corey Burke last night. Could have went with Davo last night. But for whatever reason, Jim still doesn't want to play Davo. And the time's clicking down, Jim. The time is clicking down. And I love Jim Curtin. I really do. I appreciate everything that he's done for the Philadelphia Union. But you're starting to see the talk come back, where people are talking about Jim Curtin not being a really good tactics manager. It's a really, really good player manager, motivator. Love that. But tactically, I think he's a little bit limited in that department. Now, maybe Jim would argue and say, no, my tactics are good, just the players aren't following what I'm saying. But Jim's a manager that's never going to throw his players under the bus, so you're never really getting reasoning for that, in my opinion. But Casper just wasn't good enough on the night. And so why wouldn't you attack down the middle if you're not okay with the crosses? The crosses were bad. They were way past Casper. Casper was getting beat by center backs when they were close to him. The goalkeeper came out and fisted away because it was a dangerous cross, and nobody was at the far post to collect the ball to send in another cross. I know it happened a couple of times with Kai Wagner, but then the cross was just wasted. I don't know why we continue to attack down the wings with Kai Wagner and Bizo when the crosses haven't been there at all. So Jim Curtin talked about us sending in crosses against DC United. So you guys heard what he said before the game against DC United, and then he was asked to readdress his whole thoughts on crosses after the game.
They're all useless crosses, though. They're just balls floated into the goalkeeper, or they get blocked. So they're not, like we talked about in the press conference, it means nothing. Crosses are actually not a good predictor of goals scored. They're actually very, very low percentage, especially if you're crossing from where we are. So I think you guys heard me already going around on that at middle of the week with the press conference. So not enough. Again, you could say we had 48 crosses, and it doesn't really matter if they're just balls that are chipped right to Steve Birnbaum's head or to Kempen's hands.
So then why are we wasting these crosses? Why are we crossing then if you know that they're wasteful crosses? Why aren't we attacking through the middle of the field? I don't think DC did anything special in the middle of the field to stop the Union from attacking down the middle of the field. The Union just going to attack down the middle of the field. Guys weren't on the same page. Players didn't look motivated. And it's really disappointing. It's really, really disappointing that teams are not afraid of our crosses anymore. Teams are like, yeah, you guys haven't put any good balls in the middle of the box in a while now, so we're just going to continue to not treat that as any threat. So we're going to make it difficult for you to attack down the midfield. But I didn't think it was difficult for the Union to attack down the midfield at all. I think starting Leon Flock, if you really want to attack down the middle of the field, you lose a lot offensively. Leon doesn't offer you a lot offensively, and I love Leon Flock. I think he's, for the most part, a really good defender. I think the expectations for Leon were pretty low when he came in, but he hit the ground running so hard. It's like, okay, we actually got something really serious here. Now this guy needs to start every game. And now the problem that you face with not starting Leon Flock is, okay, you talk about wanting to be a pressing team, but Leon Flock leads every single player in the Union in presses. If you sit him on the bench, you're not going to get nearly as enough pressures from Daniel Gazdag at the 10, where normally you get a good amount from Jameer at the 10. So, yeah, I guess theoretically Jameer would go to the 8 and press, but you're not getting enough pressure from Daniel Gazdag. So you're really losing a lot if you want to be a pressing team, if you sit Leon Flock. So you got to decide, okay, do we want to press a team early on in the game, or do we want to press a game in the second half of the game when hopefully we have the lead? Because if we have the lead and we're pressing in the second half, then that's when more goals come. But the Union aren't scoring first a lot of the times. They're having to find ways to tie games. And Matt Ralph came up and dug up the stat and said the Union now 9 games in a row without a road win, 10 counting CCL. Only goal scorer in the 3 road games is Paxton Aronson. Last road win was May 23rd at Aldi Field. Now, I believe until last night we had not lost a game at Aldi Field, minus a Open Cup game where Rooney, I believe, scored a penalty kick. Anthony Fontana came in, looked like he was going to save the day for the Union, and then I believe Wayne Rooney got a penalty kick near the end of the game, and DC won that game. But look, it's I don't know. What do you do if you're Jim Curtin? That's what I asked on social media. I said, what do you do if you're Jim Curtin, if you're the manager? How do you fix this? Because 9 games in a row without a win, it's pretty bad on the road. Now, granted, the Union have a ton of draws on the road where they've come back and got a point, which you feel good about. But last night didn't feel good on the road. They get blown out 3-1. Should have lost a lot worse. How do you fix, okay, you don't want the team crossing, but you I guess would want the team to attack down the middle, but the Union weren't attacking down the middle. And so I asked on social media, I was like, if you're the manager, how do you fix this team? And I got a ton of responses from you guys on social media. I mean, people said, I'm playing the games. If nothing else, it sends a message to the starters to get their crap together. I'm starting Sullivan and Aronson or Fontana. I'm giving Daver a few starts as well. Can't be worse than what we're seeing right now. I mean, that's so true, right? Casper is offering nothing offensively. He's not holding up the ball. He's not pulling defenders out. He's doing nothing. Teams aren't threatened by Kasper Schmelker at all. When he tries to cut the ball on his left foot like he did last night, we see it all the time. He's on his right, then he tries to cut left. He's so slow when he's trying to cut like that. Then teams just know, okay, look, when he's going to do this, they know exactly when to take the ball off his foot, and then there goes that team on the counterattack because Kasper is way too slow cutting the ball over to his left foot. I guess the good thing is against New England, I mean, we're going to see a lot of these kids, so you can't really say that it's sending a message against New England when we're going to be playing a lot of homegrown players because so many players are going to be away on international duty. But what you need to do is the game after New England. Now, granted, the game after New England, it's against Club America. So you definitely don't want to definitely don't want to play the kids against Club America. But wouldn't that be a statement by Jim Curtin if they play the kids against Club America, where you're 2 goals down, you need at least 2 goals to tie this game up? Wouldn't that be a statement if Jim Curtin came out and said, yeah, so we started the kids because we were forced to against New England, and now we're going to start the kids against Club America? Wouldn't that be a crazy statement by Jim Curtin? I wonder how you guys as the fans would react if we saw a whole bunch of homegrowns starting against Club America. Would you guys leave the game? Would you guys not show up? Would you guys be complaining on social media? I think if anything, that's sending a statement right there saying, look, we're down 2 goals. My regular starters are not getting the job done in MLS play. We're going to go ahead and throw out the kids against Club America. Let's see what happens. I don't think Jim Curtin's going to do that at all, but that would be a crazy statement if that happened. Again, just people talking about starting Aronson and Sullivan, play Anthony Fontana more, don't play a 4-2-3-1 formation anymore. People said you got to relax and realize that the Union lost every top player it had and recognize the fact that it might be literally overachieving right now. I don't think the Union are overachieving. I think the Union are where they are. They are who they are. I think I was in such denial, but I think I'm finally starting to accept it that the Union are just an average team. And you look at a lot of teams in MLS, a lot of teams are average. And so because of that, we're in 5th place. I still believe we will have a chance to finish top 3, top 4. And if you listen to the podcast all the way at the beginning of the season when I did my predictions, pretty sure I said I thought the Union were going to finish in 4th. But I don't think Mark McKenzie and Brendan Aronson were our top 2 players last season. I don't think they were the best players on the Union last season. They were very good players for the Union. And I think that is something that fans are not really realizing, is just how much that Mark McKenzie and Brendan Aronson truly did mean to the Philadelphia Union last season. And yeah, I mean, we talked about it last season, just the pressing numbers with Brendan Aronson to where they are this season without him. Mark McKenzie was the fastest defender, I would say, not just center back, fastest defender we had on the team last season. The leadership he brought at such a young age, he was always in the right position, always in the right spot. And you were starting Jack Elliott and Mark McKenzie, and then this season you're starting Jacob Glesnes. And Jacob Glesnes at the beginning of the season was really good at not making mistakes. But he had a couple mistakes last season when he played. He's now starting to get those mistakes to come back and haunt him the last couple games. So that's really, really disappointing that Jacob Glesnes just got caught out on that second goal that DC United scored. He was at the wrong side of, I forget who initially won the header. Was it Kamara? It might have been Kamara. Don't know how Glesnes loses that header at all. Was in terrible positioning. He was in terrible position against Montreal. It's back-to-back weeks now that Jacob Glesnes has been at fault for a goal. Nothing Andre Blake could have done when Arena scored the goal. Made a good block when Jacob Glesnes got beat on the header. But yeah, it's not good. So, I mean, we're going to see Stuart Finley against New England because Jack Elliott is suspended because he has too many yellow cards, which was a joke, the yellow card he picked up against Montreal. I think it was probably a joke last night as well, the yellow card that he picked up, but it is what it is. I think Jack Elliott has been your best defender. Yeah, I'll say defender. I won't say just center back. I'll say he's been our best defender this season. So if you bring in Stuart Finley, you would want it to be for Jacob Glesnes, but it's going to be for Jack Elliott because he misses the next game due to too many yellow cards. So, yeah, I agree, though. Just not a fan of the 4-2-3-1. It did not work. So stick with what you're good at, and that would be the 4-4-2. Again, just a lot of people saying play the kids. People want to change the formation, play Bedoya for 60 minutes, see what Davo can do. Do the opposite of what was done on the night. Subs need to happen sooner, especially for Bedoya. Sullivan needs to play more and start Stuart Finley. Yes. Stuart Finley, I agree with that. Definitely does need to start. Let's see what he can do. Paid a pretty high transfer fee for Stuart Finley just for him not to get a ton of playing time. Talk about, we're good defensively. But last night was a terrible performance defensively, especially from Jacob Glesnes. Sullivan, I don't know if you start him yet, but I think you definitely do bring him on sooner. Subs definitely need to happen sooner as well, especially for Bedoya. I definitely agree with that. Bedoya didn't play as bad as Liam Flock, in my opinion, last night. That is for sure. Somebody said this is not on Jim Curtin. Of course it's on Jim Curtin. He picks the formation. Casper, like I talked about a little bit ago, it's not in great form, but yet you still start Casper even though he's not in good form, even though he's not pulling center backs out. Of course it's on Jim Curtin, the formation. Of course it is. What the players do on the field. And yeah, a lot of players have bad attitudes, and Jim's a good player manager. But it's up to Jim to get these guys to find ways to get these guys to be motivated, to pick the right formation, to pick the right players, to get his substitutions right. And as far as I'm concerned, yeah, Jim's not done any of that right the last couple games. Love Jim Curtin, but it's it's definitely on. It's definitely on Jim Curtin. Let's see. People say dump Casper and Daniel Gazdag, spend some money. Definitely agree with dropping not Daniel Gazdag, dropping Kasper Shabelko, but Daniel Gazdag, you gotta throw him out there. Look, if you guys want to hear my thoughts on Daniel Gazdag, I'm tired of talking about it. Just listen to the last couple episodes and you hear why I believe you got to keep playing Daniel Gazdag. But the thing that I like right here from Jonathan Bach, he says, in the words of Roy Kent, play like a prick. Too many crosses, too many extra passes. Take on the defender, take your shot, make a hard tackle. I almost missed yellow card Martinez because he embodied how they should play. Doesn't have to be beautiful football, just play hard. Spot on. Absolutely spot on. It seems like these guys don't want to make a challenge. It seems like when they do make a challenge, it's a half challenge and they're not looking to go straight on the counterattack when they do win the ball. It is way too many crosses, way too many passes. They take a pass when they should take a shot. They take a shot when they should make the pass. Just in the attacking third, it's not there. It's not been there for a while. And the creativity is really lacking for this team. So no reason why the Union aren't creating chances when you bring in two creative players and Daniel Gazdag and Jameer Montero. It just wasn't there last night. I agree. Just Jim talks about getting back to the basics, and it seems like the Union didn't get back to the basics against DC United last night. So yeah, the Union just need to play this hard soccer. They need to play like a Burnley. They need to play like a Stoke City, where they're going to rough you up and make it difficult for teams to get under team skin. Because look, if you can force teams to make a mistake because you're playing them hard, then you're going to have more chances, I feel like. Because what the Union are doing right now, it's not been good enough, in my opinion. But the last clip I want to play is Jim Curtin talking about needing the fans.
Yeah, look, we pride ourselves in not conceding goals. Even the last one makes me angry just because it's so silly. But overall, again, like I said at the start, to start this press conference, we haven't gotten our asses kicked like that in about 3 years. So we got what we deserved. Coaching staff, players, all included. We have to show a response now on Friday in front of our home fans, and we need them to be behind us and push this group in what is it's a unique time for sure because we have 7 or 8 guys going away with the national team. One of the only teams playing during this stretch against New England, who's a top team. But in this league, all you need is someone to make a play for you. And right now, we're not getting those plays. We haven't had someone, do something out of the ordinary to bail us out, or score a goal from nothing, or beat a guy and make a play. So we've been lacking that a little bit. Confidence, whatever you want to call it, it just has to be better from all of us.
Yeah, it's definitely confidence that this team is missing. But as I begin to wrap up the podcast, sorry, I'm sure I probably rambled a lot in this podcast. Hopefully you guys have paid attention, Like I said, I did this whole episode without looking at notes, giving stats and everything. It's just talking about, my thoughts, listening to a couple of Jim's comments in his pregame and postgame press conferences. But Jim talks about doing something out of the ordinary, somebody stepping up. Why aren't you starting Davo? You don't know what you have in this guy. Yes, I get it. You see this guy in training. You see him more than what us fans can see. But you don't know what you have until you start him in a game. I said it last episode. Practicing and playing games are the complete opposite thing. Just play. Just play Davo. It's not that hard, but for whatever reason, Jim hasn't wanted to put him in the last 2 games. So hopefully we see him against New England. We should see him in against New England, as Corey Burke's is going to go away with Jamaica for the national team. But the thing Jim talks about, needing the fans. Yeah, you guys do need the fans. I think we make a great atmosphere in Subaru Park, but the one thing that sits really, really bad with me is last night, the fans made a lot of noise. The players knew we were there because all the sections around us, DC United fans kept looking at us when we were chanting. We were definitely making noise, and I know that the players could definitely hear us on the sidelines, on the field, because we were loud last night, I thought. Not for the whole game, but definitely there was moments, especially when the game first started, we were loud, and everybody was into it, everybody was passionate. But after the game, only Jack Elliott, Brujo, Matt Freese, and Bedoya came over and applauded us, the away fans. That's really, really poor, because before the game started, the guys, when they were warming up, they came over. When they were going into the dressing rooms, they applauded us before the game started. They knew we were there. But after the game, to only have those 4 players come over and applaud us, yeah, that's unacceptable from this team, in my opinion. You had people drive 2+ hours come to support you guys, to push you guys on. And you guys had such bad attitudes on the field. You couldn't do the most simplest thing, come over and applaud the away fans. That doesn't sit well with me at all. Now, look, you guys do a good job after the game, signing autographs, taking pictures and everything, applauding the Sons of Ben. Now, granted, you probably applaud the Sons of Ben and Keystone because to get to the away locker rooms, to get to the home locker rooms, you got to walk right under the Sons of Ben. So that's probably why you applaud us. But look, you to go to the locker rooms at Audi Field, you got to walk past the supporter section, the away supporter section. And for only those 4 players to come over and to applaud the fans, it's not good. It doesn't sit well with me. And you know what that does tell me? It tells me that the attitudes of a lot of these players are really, really, really bad. Players on this team don't care. That effort last night, it showed me that players don't care. And what makes it worse is the people with the attitude problems are some of our best players on the team. I love Kai Wagner. I love everything he does for this team. He's my favorite player on the Union. But he has an attitude problem. Jameer Montero has an attitude problem. Ali Bedoya, he gets emotional on the field. Kasper Shabelko, he gets an attitude on the field. Proho, you can see he gets an attitude on the field. But it's very, very, very concerning where you can tell just last night, players didn't care last night. Players didn't care. Jameer Montero, I know for a fact you guys didn't see this on the TV. Only the people in the stadium would have seen this. But when Jameer Montero's number was up to come off the field, he looked over at the sideline. He saw his number was up. Didn't want to come off the field. Was kind of refusing to come off the field. And then it's when the PA announcer said that Jameer is coming up. He acts like, oh, yeah, he didn't see it. He was looking directly over at the bench. He was looking directly at the number, showing that, yeah, he's the one coming off the field. He didn't want to come off. And if you guys listen to Kevin Kincaid's podcast about, the issue that Jameer Montero and the team had was because he was mad that he got substituted off against Inter Miami. Yeah, you can tell he was annoyed getting substituted off against DC United. He played better than Daniel Gazdag, but he didn't play great on the night, in my opinion. Nobody on this team played great except for Andre Blake. And I have no problem at all getting rid of players. I think if we're going to have teams on this team that have attitude problems, that aren't going to fight for the badge, then get rid of them. I don't care if it's Kai Wagner. I don't care if it's Jameer Montero. I don't care if it's our best players. If they're going to have the attitude of they don't care, getting into arguments with teammates constantly, get them off this team. Get them off this team. And it sucks to say that, but having a cancerous locker room, Jim Curtin talks about it all the time. About, we don't have any superstars on this team. The superstar is the team. But if the locker room is going to be cancerous because we have a lot of players with attitude problems, and now if it's showing on the field, it's definitely happening in the locker room, and they're keeping it hush-hush. You got to get rid of those players. And maybe Ernst Tanner's looking at it. Maybe that's why he was looking to get rid of Jameer Montero. Who knows? But, I want players here at the Philadelphia Union that care about playing in MLS, that care about fighting for the badge. And that game against DC United, there was players out there that did not care at all about fighting for the badge. But look, I started the episode trying to give some positive notes, some positive news. Wasn't much, like I said, other than what happened outside of the game, and Andre Blake on the field. So if you look, the Union, they are in 5th place in the East, which is crazy. 8 wins, 8 draws, 6 losses. Crazy that we're in 5th. The MLS teams that have made the CCL semifinals, the last 4 teams that made the CCL semifinals, this is what happened to them at the end of the season. Is in 2020, LAFC, they made the final. They finished 7th in the West. Now, granted, that season, CCL was after the MLS season. This is from Matt DeGeorge. I'm glad that he dug up this stat. Really, really good stat. In 2019, Sporting Kansas City, they make the semifinals. Finishes 11th in the West. They miss the playoffs. 2018, Toronto makes the CCL final. They finished 9th, and they missed the playoffs. 2017, FC Dallas makes the CCL semifinals, and they finished 7th, and they also missed the playoffs. So, as things stand, the Union are in the semifinals. They're in 5th place. They look like they can make the playoffs. But this team's very, very, very average. It's not good. It's not been good what we've seen the last couple of games from the Union. And for all you guys that are listening to this podcast that are saying, I tried to tell you that there's just an average team. You did try to tell us that it's an average team. And people didn't want to listen. And now I'm starting to get in that boat and believe you guys that, the Union, they're nothing special. They're just an average team, just like the majority of MLS teams. Everybody's just average other than New York City. DC United, I would say, is a lot better than what people are giving them credit for. New England, Seattle, Sporting Kansas City, everybody else, in my opinion, average in MLS. Nashville, I guess you can say, aren't average, but those teams that I just named, I think they're by far the best 4 teams in MLS, and then everybody else, they don't come close to them. But that's my thoughts. Hopefully you guys like some of the points I made. Maybe you guys liked listening to what Jim said pregame and postgame. Maybe it gives you something to think about. I really hope the Union can turn it around against New England. Both teams, I'm sure, are going to be depleted with a whole bunch of players gone away on international duty. Then we have the CCL game against Club America. But look, it's a lot of games to be played. Hopefully the Union can find ways to create chances, to stop having useless crosses out wide. And hopefully we can get a nice win streak going here and just spark at the right time. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on social media, follow @FreeKickPod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Check out the website, thefreekickpodcast.com, and wherever you get your podcasts, The Free Kick. But yeah, let's hope that the preview episode for New England can be more positive than this energy. Look, everybody's down, so I'm sure listening to me, I couldn't have got you guys down even more. If I did, my apologies, but we'll try to sound positive for that preview episode against New England. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.